Yo, what is going on, guys? XpertFusion here, and today I'm going to be giving you guys a full review of the Outbreak Easter Egg, and also kind of just reviewing the state of Outbreak within Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War Zombies as it is currently. So as you guys may have known already, I'm not the biggest fan of a lot of the directions that Black Ops Cold War Zombies has been going in, specifically with the just general lack of things to do within the game and the fact that it's definitely very much geared towards the more casual players, and it overall has a much easier feel to it, especially when it comes to the Easter egg quests. And although I enjoyed the introduction of Outbreak back when it first came out with Season 2 back in February, I got really bored of it rather quickly. Maybe like a week or two went by and I actually never went back to Outbreak at all. Like, I haven't played it at all in March, didn't play it at all in April. So when this Easter egg dropped, this was my first time playing Outbreak since like early March, late February, around the first few weeks when it first came out. So it was very new to me when it comes to everything they've added since then, because they have added a lot since then. And I honestly gotta say, it is much better than it was when it first came out, for sure. I'm going to start this video talking about the state of Outbreak currently, and then we'll jump into talking about the actual Easter egg quest itself. There is actually going to be even more Easter egg quests in the future added to Outbreak, which is pretty cool, and I'm definitely very excited for those, and I believe we'll probably do a review for those as well, assuming they're pretty content heavy and there's enough to talk about. So starting off with the positives about the current state of Outbreak, I gotta say the world events are really cool. The world events at first within Outbreak when it first dropped, I mean, there was a couple of decent ones, but they weren't very interactive and they didn't have the best rewards ever, so I never felt the need to do them. I kind of just wanted to do the objectives to head to the next area. But the world events currently, some of them are really, really cool, and the rewards are actually really, really good. So first of all, the Orda boss fight is, to me, one of the coolest boss fights we've ever seen in Zombies history, and you get a different Orda boss fight every single time you go in, because the Orda is not always in the same location. Obviously, throughout Zombies history, we've had Easter egg boss fights that have been generally the same thing, where the boss is always going to be in the same general location each time you do that boss fight. But for this Orda boss fight, you can come across Orda really anywhere on any 5 of the maps. So he can be anywhere, and there's some really cool locations he'll go to, and he actually does some cool things. Like, his attacks are pretty interactive with the environment. Like, if there's fences around the area, he can destroy the fences with his giant like hand, and he is a threatening boss. He's not impossible to take out, but if you don't have the best weapons, he's actually pretty threatening, and it's a lot of fun to fight him. I didn't really care for the Orda boss fights in Firebase C because they were very easy. You can take him out within literally like 30 seconds, and he was just standing still. He didn't really pose that much of a threat. But the Orda boss fight here, he's moving around. Every single time you fight him, he's moving around the map, and his attacks are actually really cool. I have a great time with these Orda boss fights, and I love to do them every time I see them. There's also, of course, some of the ones that we've seen before, but they just feel a little bit better now. They're a lot more enjoyable to do. The rewards are also better. There's also the Ethereum crystal hunt, where you hunt these like orange crystals. The reward is usually always the ether tool, and the ether tool, or ether wrench, whatever you want to call it, actually makes whatever weapon you have automatically go up a tier when it comes to its rarity, which is huge because it's really hard to get salvage for, upgrading your rarity. So getting an ether tool is just really great. So doing these things are definitely worth it. There's also the regular boss fights, which are just the normal boss fights where you go hunt down a couple of different bosses. It's usually like manglers or sometimes one of the megatons. It really just depends on what it is. Sometimes it's a panzer. Those are always kind of fun. I enjoyed those when Outbreak was out at its first time as well. But it's just nice to see some more world events now, because now we have more variety, so we're not having the same couple events on every single location every time we go into a brand new location for Outbreak. They've also added some more objectives as well since the launch of Outbreak, so now we have more variety there as well, because before, again, there wasn't that many, so it was getting kind of bland, just doing the same couple objectives every single time. But now we have a lot more. There's, of course, the same ones like Escort, Holdout, the Ethereum retrieval, but now you have stuff like protecting rockets, which is kind of cool, where it shoots 2 different rockets down and you have to kind of kill zombies around both of the rockets while also maintaining to protect them. That one's a lot of fun. there's just a couple of other ones too. They're just enjoyable. I don't really mind doing them that much. I think it's kind of just fun to have this objective to have to do each time you're going in. So it's not just simply going in to kill zombies and just lasting till you die like zombies normally is if you're not doing Easter eggs, of course. So it's nice to have objectives. I think it's kind of cool how Outbreak plays like that, I gotta be honest. The progression in Outbreak is really great as well too. Just like it is in Cold War Zombies in general, there's so much stuff to upgrade because you have 3 tiers worth of upgrades for any weapon you want, and of course you also have the rarity tiers, so you can pack a punch it 3 times and you can get it all the way up to epic rarity. You're never always going to have the best possible weapon you can have. There's always more stuff you can upgrade on top of that, and of course with the introduction of custom mods and such, now you can use your own camos and you can use your own attachments on any gun. You don't have to just use it on the gun that you start with, so that's a fantastic system. I absolutely love being able to use whatever attachments I want on any gun now, also whatever camo I want. So I'm very, very glad they finally made that fantastic change, and it definitely makes Outbreak a lot more enjoyable as well. I'm sure it'll make regular zombies more enjoyable, but it's definitely making Outbreak more enjoyable. And the soundtrack, finally they gave some somewhat unique music for Outbreak. I'm not sure if all of it is unique. Some of it sounds familiar from other zombie games. Maybe it's from other Black Ops games. I'm not too sure. But it's better than the original music we had, which was basically just taking the same Cold War campaign music and just repurposing it in Outbreak. I actually think they have some pretty cool music now that plays throughout the map, and it makes it just more intense, more fun in that way. And of course, they're also adding new areas consistently. Before we only had 3 areas. Now they added Sanatorium, Night, as well as Duga, which are 2 really cool locations. I would love to see more locations as well, which I'm sure we will get in the future. And I would love to see some weather variants of already existing maps. Like, I think it'd be pretty cool to see Ruka get some sort of a like rainy map. Maybe it's a stormy Ruka or something. Maybe the trees are all shaking and stuff, and it's kind of like almost terrifying because Ruka's got some big ass trees. You know, what if some trees fall every now and then? Obviously that would take a lot of development time to produce that, but I think that would be pretty cool. And they can even add stuff like Rebirth Island from Warzone as a map. They can add Transit as a map. I think that would be pretty cool. Just getting more Outbreak locations would be fantastic, and I would absolutely love to see it. Assuming, obviously, I'm sure they want to make it fit in with the story, but it's the zombie storyline. They can really make anything make sense. Of course, it's not perfect. There's still a lot of issues I have with Outbreak. I think my biggest issue currently is the lack of vehicles. Each location has on average 6 to 7 vehicles, sometimes even less. Of course, the vehicles get destroyed very easily by a lot of different bosses, so that's kind of frustrating, and I really think it would be a lot more fun if there was like 10 to 12 vehicles on the map at once. It's just, I don't have all day to play zombies, unfortunately, so when I'm in there, I'm trying to just get through the worlds a little bit quicker, so I want something to get around the map quicker. We need more transportation methods. I don't care what it is. I don't care if there's more jump pads, because they have some jump pads, but I don't think there's enough of them. More vehicles, just more ways to get to one end of the map to the other. Now, they might not want that because maybe they want us to explore more of the map, and they're afraid if they give us too many ways of transporting the map quickly, we're not going to take the time to explore. But there's not that many things on the map. Again, they did add more world events and more variety within the objectives and stuff, but in terms of actual things to do in individual worlds, it's still a little bit bare bones. I think they maybe need a couple more world events at once, like there's 3 currently within each location usually. Again, they have great variety in the type of world events, but not in the amount of world events. I would love to see 5 to 6 world events on a map at once. I'm not even exaggerating. I think that would allow for us to just have more things to do. Maybe not even world events, maybe just little tiny things that aren't even on the minimap, like little side quests and stuff. They have some side quests, but they're nothing major, nothing too crazy. Just give us more things to do. I don't think it's that complicated, and it would make for, I think, Outbreak to be a lot more fun. Even like little mini games, like some sort of a challenge where you have to shoot certain targets on the map in like a little area, kind of like that one step of the buried Easter egg. I think that would be really cool. They could have a lot of callbacks to prior maps. Hell, give us some old wonder weapons from some classic zombies maps, maybe some more stuff just to kind of make it feel more like a sandbox as opposed to just being a Cold War sandbox. Make it more of a zombie sandbox in general. I know they want to make it make sense with the story, but story to me kind of holds back some of the possibilities they can do. I would rather they just do crazy shit with Outbreak. I really was hoping Outbreak would be more sandboxy than it actually is, and I think there's definitely more ways for them to do that. And essentially at the end of the day, my biggest issue is if they don't do all these things that I'm asking here, it's not going to be very replayable. They can keep adding more world events, they can keep adding more Easter eggs. That'll be fun and all. I'm definitely down to do more Easter eggs. I think the Easter eggs definitely give it some more life. But the Easter eggs themselves aren't really that replayable either. So let's talk about the Easter egg now, which I do like as a whole, but as I said, I don't know how replayable it's actually going to be. Although it is a great Easter egg, I would say definitely the best Easter egg within Call of Duty Cold War Zombies so far. So the Easter egg begins with simply having to get to the world number 3 or round 3. I'm going to call them rounds. I don't know what you're supposed to technically call the different waves that you go to for each world. I'm going to call it rounds. So you have to get to round 3 in order to actually begin the Easter egg, which I think is a good thing because it kind of forces you to have to progress a little bit so you can upgrade your weapons a little bit, do a couple things here and there. It doesn't force you to do, objectives specifically for the Easter egg every single round leading up to a certain point. Instead, you can just kind of play the game normally for a couple rounds, and then you actually have to start doing the Easter egg quest. I do like that. I think that's a pretty good place for it as well, because by the time you get to round 3, you got decent weapons at that point, usually not anything too crazy. That's why you want to do all the world events so you can get the best weapons possible as soon as possible. And on round 3, all you have to do is sync these 4 radios on the same frequency. This part's very easy. There really isn't anything too hard about it. It's not really a fun step, but it's not necessarily tedious either, so I don't really, mind doing it. The only issue I have with this step is that you need the subtitles on in order to make it a lot easier. Why not just make it so it'll tell you the frequency number regardless if you have the subtitles on or off? You might as well. It obviously makes it a lot easier with the subtitles on, so you might as well just tell us exactly what it is on screen regardless if you have subtitles on or off. Now I know you can listen to the frequencies and just do it from there, but obviously no one's going to be trying to figure out exactly what the frequency is by sound. Everyone's going to make it easier for themselves to just put subtitles on, but it's kind of annoying having to turn subtitles off and on because personally I do not enjoy playing with subtitles on, so it's something that I usually turn off. So it would be nice to have it, the number of the frequency pop up regardless of if you have subtitles on or off. I think that would make a lot of sense. And then you get to the thing and you go into round 4 after you complete this little radio syncing step, and obviously you got to do the objective on that world as well. You still have to do everything else. You probably want to do the world events as well just so you can get as much stuff as you possibly can. And then you go into round 4, which round 4 is pretty simple. Every map has about 4 different locations for monkeys, and one of these monkeys each time you play on this round, or you can really do it any round I believe, but I usually do it round 4. You shoot the monkeys and it's a chance of giving you a reel that you need. You need the reel in order to put it into a projector that's specifically on one location on the map. It's nice that they only have 4 monkey spawns on each map. There's not like a 16 of them or something crazy like that, so you don't have to memorize a bunch of spawns because it's a big map. It would be kind of annoying having to memorize a ton of spawns. I don't really mind memorizing a lot of spawns for normal zombies because those maps aren't that big. It's really not that hard to memorize them. But on a map like this, 16 of them, I would go crazy if we had to memorize 16 spawns on this map. And then after you look over the slides on the reels using the projector, you have to just now leave the world again and then head to round 5. And round 5 is when the crazy stuff starts. So those steps so far, I would say, are, again, they're not really fun. They're just there to progress through the Easter egg. It was more fun, I'm sure, for the people who were hunting it because you have to actually find these things yourself. So it was a bit of an actual Easter egg hunt to it. But after doing it, after you already know the spawns, it's kind of just like part of the Easter egg. It's not really tedious, but it's not really fun either. The fun stuff starts on round 5 when you have to head to the bunker. It always will spawn you on the Ruka map on round 5 if you have done the previous Easter egg steps. So now round 5, you have to head to the bunker. It brings you down using an elevator, and this is when the cool shit starts. First of all, you gotta find Ravenov, which is pretty simple. Obviously, after you've done it once or twice, you're gonna know exactly where to go. You just have to hold X on this little control panel, and you get this little cutscene. And the cutscene's kind of cool. I wouldn't say the cutscenes in Cold War Zombies have been all that interesting. We've only had a few cutscenes actually. The best cutscene was obviously the intro cutscene to D Machine, which wasn't even really an intro cutscene. It was more of a cinematic trailer that they released. That was really cool. Everything since then has kind of been a little meh. I kind of wish they would give us cinematics that were actually like really well CGI rendered like they were within the, I believe it was motion capture that they did for the campaign cutscenes, for most of the campaign cutscenes at least. And I know why they do them like the way they do them, because you have your operators there. Obviously the operators are going to be random characters. They're not going to make a really beautiful looking cutscene for every single operator in the game and every possible skin you can put on the operator. So the reason they do it like this in-game sort of a cutscene is so your operator can appear there. I understand why they do that, but it doesn't look nearly as good as I feel like their cutscenes could look. But it is what it is. It is kind of cool seeing like John McClane, in this cutscene, going around. It's cool. I gotta admit. So that's fine. And then after that, you have to collect 3 launch keys, and there's 3 different tasks you have to do for each of the 3 keys. Probably the most enjoyable key to go for is the mimic one. All you have to do is go into the middle area of the bunker, and a bunch of mimics will spawn. There'll be a bunch of little like objects just around the room. I believe there's about 20 of them. 20 of them will come from all these objects, and you have to kill all of them and then go find a key from another mimic that is a little bit more difficult to take out, but you just take them out. Simple as that. And you got the first key. It's a pretty fun step because I like steps like this where there's just a load of bosses coming at you. Like, it kind of reminds me of the Origins Rain Fire step. I believe that's the name of the step. The step when the panzers come and all it's crazy shit happens. I don't remember the exact name of the step, but you know what I'm talking about. When all the panzers come, kind of reminds me of that a little bit, and I kind of like that. It's cool having to fight against a bunch of the same boss that we've already seen before, but we've never seen this boss in these numbers before. We usually see them in groups of 3, 4 at most, but seeing 20 at once is crazy. If you don't have a good PC, it's gonna lag the shit out of your PC, I'm sure. But on Xbox Series X, it was perfectly fine. You took them all out pretty easily if you have a good gun. Not that hard of a step, and it's pretty fun, I gotta say. And then the other 2 steps are a little bit more tricky, but they can be done very easily if you're a good enough player. The steps themselves aren't even that hard. The problem with them is that there's so many zombies and bosses that spawn while you're trying to do it. Even during the mimic step, there's some of the manglers coming, there's the megatons, there's a bunch of zombies, especially the armored zombies, even more mimics. A lot of stuff spawning at you throughout all these steps. That's what makes it so hard, especially if you're on solo and you're trying to do these things, and it's just not easy. You need to use ether shrouds or frenzied guard or monkey bombs, something to keep the zombies off of you while you're trying to do some of this stuff, because otherwise it gets really hectic. There's no holding a last zombie because there's no rounds. It's just infinite waves of zombies, which makes it more intense, so I'm not really mad about that. I'm pretty happy it's actually a difficult, challenging step here. This next one, you have to collect Ethereum crystals in this little area. They keep regenerating, so they're not too hard to get. You just keep going back every now and then, shooting these little crystals, collecting them, and then you have to deposit about 20 crystals into this canister, and then you can grab the canister and you have to go all the way to this little patch of grass, hold the 2 buttons, or click the 2 buttons that are the same buttons you use to activate your specialist ability or whatever you want to call it, and then you kind of do this big blast that kills a lot of zombies around you, and you fly into this jellyfish, which obviously we've seen the jellyfishes before in the machine. They're like these Ethereum dark ether jellyfish. I don't know, they're really weird, but it's cool because you fly in it, this weird music plays, and then you kind of grab the key that's inside of the jellyfish. I don't know exactly what you're doing, if you're grabbing the key in the jellyfish or if the canister is being used to do something. I don't know. It's really weird because you can never really see where the key is. I'm not too sure exactly what's happening there, but I just hold X repeatedly. Eventually I pick up the key and you drop down. Pretty easy step. Again, it's just the problem is a lot of zombies come at you, and that's kind of what makes it a little bit trickier. It takes a little bit of time to do. This next one I would say is the most tedious one to do, although it's not terrible. It's just a little annoying here and there because you have to collect a monkey using the mimic trapping device that we used in Firebase C. The problem is if you get too close to the monkey, he goes away. So you have to try to toss this device from a pretty far distance and accurately get it near the monkey so the monkey can get trapped in the device. My first few tries of this Easter egg, the step was very buggy. Like, the thing would get stuck in certain places and you'd have to like jump off the top ledge to try to grab the device back, and it was really obnoxious, but I think it's better now after a couple patches. The last time I did the Easter egg, which was the time I actually completed it, it actually was pretty good. It dropped the device on the floor, so you didn't have to worry about having to try to jump to some weird ledge in order to get the device. And I believe the monkey drops the key in the device, if that's what's happening. I'm not too sure, because you grab the device and it just gives you the key, and you're good to go. Actually, you don't even pick up the device. The key just kind of comes out of it. And now you have the 3 keys, and then you have to just guess what the pattern is for the launch codes. I'm not too sure if there's an actual way to know exactly what the launch code sequence is because it's different every game. There might be a way that we just don't know of because it's kind of weird for them to make an RNG step that's completely just guess and check. They've done that before, but I feel like it would make sense for them to give us some sort of a clue as to what the order is without having to guess. But currently, all I do is I just guess the order. There's only 3 different, things, so it's not that hard to guess the order. If you don't get the first one right, you just go to the next one. You don't get that one right, you go to the next one, and then you just have to guess the second and third. Usually it'll take you 1 or 2 tries, sometimes 3 or 4 if you're unlucky, but it'll be no more than like 5 tries. I'm not too sure the exact number of combinations, but something like 6 combinations, I think. It's really not that hard to figure it out. And once you do it, you have to leave the bunker, head to upstairs, and when you leave, that's when you enter the boss fight. Now, this boss fight has got to be the best boss fight we've had since maybe Ancient Evil, which isn't really saying that much because we've only had 2 boss fights since then. I just said that in my head. I'm like, wait, we've only had 2 boss fights since Ancient Evil anyways. We've had the Alpha Omega boss fight, which a lot of people would agree is not really that much of a boss fight. It's a cool boss fight, but it's not really like a, boss fight. Tiger Toad didn't even have a boss fight, and then obviously D Machine didn't have a boss fight, and then you had Firebase C's boss fight, which I didn't think was good at all. So yeah, this is the best boss fight since Ancient Evil, which again isn't saying too much, but sure. I would say this is the best Easter egg quest since Alpha Omega at least, so that's definitely saying something. Not really. Again, there's only been 3 Easter eggs. Whatever. Pretty good boss fight though, I gotta say. It's not a perfect boss fight by any means. I really do enjoy a lot of it, but there are some issues here and there, and it's not that it's too hard or anything. I'm actually really happy with the difficulty of the boss fight. I think it's got a perfect difficulty. My issue has to do with how it's designed. It's not designed in a bad way necessarily, but I think they could have made it a little bit cooler. There's just a few missed opportunities here and there. I didn't like the timer at first, but I'm actually glad there's a timer. I think that kind of just makes it a little bit more intense because a lot of the times in boss fights, you can kind of just take your sweet ass time. Like, it doesn't really matter. A lot of people like that, but I think it makes it a lot more exciting when there's this timer and you're like, holy shit, I need to hurry up. And I like that. It's 9 minutes. That seems like a lot of time, but it's not an easy boss fight, so you will be cutting it close a lot of the time. And it's incredibly fun, I have to say. I'm really impressed with this boss fight. But as I was saying before, I think it would have been cooler if maybe the stages were split up a little bit more. Like, after you take him out once and he loses a quarter of his health, or no, it's a third of his health. He loses a third of his health. Maybe have like a stage where he goes away for a little bit and then like maybe he sends in a bunch of tempests or something, kind of like the Reisendrock, where there's these little stages in between you taking out the boss where a bunch of other enemies come and he kind of takes a break from the boss for a little bit. Maybe the timer is a little bit longer in order to accommodate for this. I just think that'd be a little bit more fun. It kind of makes it a little bit more intense if there's more stages set between different parts of the boss fight. I kind of like boss fights like that, but this one is still pretty good. It's definitely better than it just being a straight bullet sponge with absolutely no cuts between different parts, because at least in this you have to actually shoot a specific part of him. When you do enough damage to him, he like drops these orbs around him and you have to shoot one of the orbs, damage it enough to the point where it'll actually take away a third of his health. Now, that would have been nice to know before hopping into the boss fight, because if you don't know that's how it works, it's really frustrating shooting at the boss and not seeing the health bar go down at all. It's really late. It's like, what the hell's happening here? But obviously after you've done it, you know how it works. You know it goes by thirds. It's not like a... Maybe it would be better if it was just like, have you played Lego video games before? How they have the different hearts? Maybe just give him 3 hearts, just simply 3 hearts, so you know exactly, okay, he loses the first heart, then he loses the second heart, then he loses the third heart, and he's dead. Like, that'd be a lot easier, I would say, but regardless, great boss fight. I'm very impressed with it. I really am excited to see what they do with the future Easter eggs for Outbreak, because they did a great job with this one. I gotta say, it's not the best Easter egg ever. It's not even close to the best Easter egg ever, but for Cold War's sake, yes, it's the best Easter egg here. I would definitely play this over the last 2, but at the end of the day, is it going to be replayable? I don't really think so. This is an issue I've had with pretty much every Zombies game, to be honest. A lot of Easter eggs aren't all that replayable unless they're a bit shorter, but again, I kind of like when they're a little bit longer. So how do you make it so it's replayable while still being long? I think the simple solution is you just have to give me reasons to want to do it again and again and again. Black Ops 4 is the only COD that really did that for me. because of one simple thing. It's not even that big of a thing, but the fact that it told you how many times you've completed each Easter egg, like on the menu screen itself when you were selecting the map, that was enough of a motivation to want to do the Easter eggs again and again than anything else, honestly. It's not even that big of a thing, but it actually motivated me to wanting to do the Easter eggs again and again, because every time I select the map, I can see how many times I've completed it. It's such a small thing, but it's like, mentally, that just makes me want to do it more. You know, I know in this game you can see how many times you've completed it, I believe, maybe in the leaderboards or something, but the leaderboards are something specific. You have to click on yourself, you have to go into it. It's not something that just pops up on the menu itself. I think if they added that, it might motivate me to want to do the Easter egg more. I think the best solution would be more rewards, like maybe after 50 times of doing the Easter egg, give me like 1,000 COD points or something. Hell yeah, I would keep going doing the boss fights and Easter eggs if I was going to get rewarded with COD points. Shit, yeah, of course. But they don't really give us many rewards like that because Call of Duty doesn't really know how to give rewards. I mean, they don't even give much rewards for completing the Easter egg the first time. So the fact that I'm even asking for rewards further than that is kind of funny, but yeah, I don't know. I just don't think I'm going to do it that many times, but it's still, like I said, a really solid Easter egg quest. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think about Outbreak and Outbreak's Easter egg in the comment section below, and I will see you guys on my next one. Peace out.